Welcome to the regular council meeting of Tuesday, January 9th, 2024 at 4:40 p.m. in Town Hall, in council chambers, and through electronic participation. We acknowledge that the town of Kirkland Lake is located on the traditional territory of Algonquin peoples, including Beaver House First Nation and the unceded territory of other Indigenous peoples. We recognize their presence of the Algonquin, Anishinaabe, Ojibwe, Cree, and Métis people in our community since time immemorial and honor their stewardship and care of these lands. We hereby affirm our continued commitment and responsibility to reconciliation. Now call to order and have a moment of silence. Item number 2, approval of the agenda.
Moved by Councillor Janice Ranger, seconded by Councillor Lad Chaba, be it resolved that the agenda for the regular meeting of council held on Tuesday, January 9th, 2024, be approved as amended to include item 12.1, proclamation, Bell Let's Talk Day, January 24th, 2024.
All in favor? Opposed? None noted. Item carried unanimous. Item number 3, declaration of pecuniary interest. Councillor Chaba.
Yes, Your Worship, I do have one, is with respect to agenda item 8.1. I, Lad Shava, I'm declaring indirect pecuniary interest on the agenda of the meeting dated January 9th, 2024. Open meeting, agenda item is 8.1. Agenda title is bylaw number 24-001, entitled 24001 execution bylaw further amending agreement, OCWA, and it's an indirect and shareholder and director of a private corporation that's affected. And I have a controlling interest in that corporation and a member of also the corporation. The nature of my interest is as follows. It's a minor structural inspection for Ontario Clean Water Agency at one of their plants.
Okay, thank you. Anything further?
No, sign.
Yeah, perfect. Thank you so much, sir. Item number 4, petitions and delegations. There are none this evening. Item number 5, acceptance and minutes of recommendations. Item 5.1, council minutes.
Moved by Councillor Casey Owens, seconded by Councillor Dolly Jenkins, be it resolved the council approve the minutes of the following meetings. Minutes of the special meeting of council held December 17th, 2023. Minutes of the public meeting held December 18th, 2023. And minutes of the regular meeting of council held December 19th, 2023.
All in favor? Opposed? None noted. Item carried unanimous. Item number 5.2, committee minutes.
Moved by Councillor Rick Owens, seconded by Councillor Patrick Kiley, be it resolved the council adopt the minutes of the following meeting. Minutes of the Kirkland Lake Museum Advisory Committee held July 19th, 2023.
All in favor? Opposed? None noted. Item carried unanimous. Item number 5.3, local and regional board minutes.
Moved by Councillor Janice Ranger, seconded by Councillor Lad Chaba, be it resolved the council receive the minutes of the following meetings. Minutes of the District of Timiskaming Social Services Administration Board of Directors held November 15th, 2023, and minutes of the Timiskaming Health Unit Board of Health held November 1st, 2023.
All in favor? Opposed? None noted. Item carried unanimous. Item number 6, reports of municipal officers and communications. 6.1, water distribution system challenges. Stefan Forte, Director of Public Works.
Good evening, Madam Mayor and Council, and thank you for having me. Through you to Council, I'm here today to present important information regarding our water distribution system. There are basically 3 things that we need from a water distribution system. It needs to provide us with clean water, it needs to be under pressure, and we need enough volume to fight fires. There was a time where our water distribution system was able to handle it all. That was long ago. Reality is that 100 years has passed and the majority of those pipes are still in the ground. The inside of the old pipes are now heavily encrusted, which simply means that the inside diameter of the pipes are significantly reduced and the inside surface of the pipes are no longer smooth. So basically, we once had large smooth pipes to carry the water. Now we have rough, narrowed pipes, which cannot carry the same volume of water that it once could. Because of this effect, our water distribution system no longer has consistent pressure throughout its entire large surface. And the volume carrying capacity is greatly affected. And to add, we also lose approximately 50% of our treated water into the ground from unknown breaks, again, related to the age of the system. Okay, now let's switch our attention to growth. Kirkland Lake wants to grow, or at the very least, wants the ability to grow. If we want to build new homes, new businesses, industries, there will be a need to connect to our existing infrastructure. There's no way around it. Within the past few years, the town has been in the unfortunate situation of having to deny requests to connect to our town's water system because we're unable to give them what they need. So we can't change water pipes fast enough to make any significant dent to solving this issue, and it's way too expensive. Kirkland Lake has to adapt to the existing state of its system. Kirkland Lake only has one water plant and only one water tower to regulate pressure and volume. And quite honestly, we're spread out over quite a large area. Increasing pressure and volume from the plant is usually a possibility, but it's not an option for us, because while we would increase pressure near the plant to correct the low pressure area, which is further away from the plant, the variations in pressure to our weak system will simply cause us a lot of breaks. So Kirkland Lake is broken down into four main regions. We have Swastika, we have Chappie Hughes, Central Kirkland, and the Federal Subdivision. All studies done to this point is basically suggesting that each of these four regions would benefit from having its own water tower, as each area will need its pressure zone. This would increase pressure and volume for each region and would provide each region with the ability to grow freely. This will be an expensive undertaking, as each step will cost multiple millions of dollars. Selecting the first region of town to upgrade will be important, as this will open the doors for growth. All this work needs to be done in parallel with replacing our existing infrastructure on a continual basis. I hope that was informative. Thank you. And if there's any questions, I'm here to answer.
Thank you, sir. Before I open the table for comment, I do believe this should serve as a wake-up call to all members at this table. If the asset management report was not clear enough, town of Kirkland Lake now needs to make some hard choices. If it is the will of this council and this community to grow, we have no alternative but to focus on infrastructure issues and determine key priorities to accommodate growth and update our aging systems. Often politicians like to focus on the shiny things that get votes. This is not a shiny thing. This is a necessary thing. We want to make sure that our community is not only sustainable for our current voting population, but for generations to come. Every member at this table was elected to make decisions on behalf of our community, our neighbors, our friends, and our families. I suggest we prepare ourselves to make very difficult and what will likely be very unpopular decisions in the near future. Any other comments or questions? Councillor Owen?
Through you, your worship. When the director talks about the buildup inside the pipes, many years ago, when 3rd Street was redone, one of the contractors knew me, and he brought over a handful of the sludge that had been built up inside that water pipe. And trust me, if I hadn't seen it for myself, I wouldn't have believed it. And yeah, I'm willing to bet that water pipe was probably down to 1/3 of its original capacity because of the buildup over the years. I also would like to point out that this situation has been going on for at least 50 years. Okay? My street was redone, I would say roughly 35 years ago. And at that time, they had a plan and they were gonna work out from the water filtration plant across the town and replace all the pipes. I don't know what happened, but it ended at 3rd Street or 2nd Street. I can't remember. I think part of 2nd Street. And it never got picked up again. So now, because of more than 35 years of neglect, we are in a terrible situation. I mean, we have to provide clean, safe water and at pressures that the fire department requires. We don't have a choice. Where we're gonna get the money is beyond me. But it has to be done. I don't know, I haven't seen any other community in the news that has water pipes 100 years old. Doesn't mean there aren't, but this is extremely unusual. So when there's a fluctuation in pressure, those 100-year-old pipes can't take it, they break. Now we're paying water crew to go out there in the middle of the night, up to their waist in water sometimes, at 30 below, and we're paying them overtime. It's very costly not to fix. But how we're gonna get the money is something that we're gonna have to look at in a hard way. Thank you.
Thank you. Anything further from members of council? Oh, sorry.
For you, Madam Mayor, to members of council. Councillor, you were inquiring where's money going to come from? Just before Christmas, the province introduced a new funding program called the Water Enabling Fund. And right now, the Director of Public Works is currently researching that fund. And he will have more information in the near future. So there is substantial funds available in the fund, but to what extent we would be eligible for is unknown right now, but we are looking into that. So that is a possible avenue to help us.
Thank you for that addition. Councillor Kylie?
Yeah, I'm very disappointed in the timing of getting this report. Because basically, we just did our strategic plan. And I believe this issue should have been included in our planning process. We're looking at millions and millions of dollars here. That if we don't get funding from the province, that we have to tack on to the taxpayer. There's no way they can handle it. It's impossible. We need about a 700 or 800% increase to do the whole system. So as I say, I felt we should have had this report as part of our strategic plan and had some discussion on that, so.
Thank you. Anything further? Councillor Dykens?
To Madam Mayor, to the rest of the council. I'm just wondering, I know it's widespread, but do we know exactly where and what? And like, so there will be a plan going ahead, so it can maybe be in phases, like, do we have a detail, like this has to be done now? And I haven't heard of one, but I'm just wondering if we have that.
So in your package, there was a link to the EXP report, and in that report, there's several recommendations.
Yeah, I read that, just.
Okay, so
Sorry.
like the looping and the standpipes, and those are all sections of the plan. There is also, as you know, we're delegating to Roma, at Roma rather, about receiving funding for further studies.
That's what I'm looking for, thank you.
Okay. Anything for Councillor Owens?
Through you, Madam Mayor, I have full sentiment from Councillor Kylie. I'm disappointed we didn't get this sooner. this report got brought to the town on October sixth, and we did I feel like our strategic planning is now utterly useless when it's gonna be presented to us, because there's nothing we can do other than water. We need to supply water to our residents, so I truly feel it was a total waste of time. I'm disappointed we got this at 2 o'clock in the morning on a weekend where we can't even send questions in, because like staff are entitled to their time off. Like, I don't want to respond to emails on the weekend at work, so staff are entitled to their time off as well at 2 o'clock in the morning. I think it should have been presented to us earlier. And a resident managed to find a link and was reading it and asked me the question, and I'm conveying the question because I could not answer his question, is where did we go wrong? How did we get to this? And I cannot answer that question. Somewhere something happened and to get us in this situation, and it's unfortunate. So I don't know, eventually, excuse me, can be an answer to that, but that was the direct question about where did we go wrong?
Thank you, I do appreciate that. Councillor Shabbat?
Yeah, thank you, to you, your worship. I just, want to address this. I will leave my, technical expertise at the door. I just address this as a lay person. I think, 4 water towers, construction of those will be very, very expensive, as indicated in the report, $10 to $15 million. So my approach would be to see us, have a mix of both, whereby some of the pipes that are in the ground are replaced incrementally, and then maybe you could supplement that with having a water tower. But the other issue to me is I've lived in Chapious for a long time, and when that water tower came to Chapious, we were very, very delighted that, okay, that will solve our pressure problem. Maybe I'm the only one in this camp, but it has not solved our problem. If you live in Chapious, you can even see the tank where I live, but it has not solved the pressure problem. So thirdly, I think that what we should do is to look at the area of growth, which direction are we growing into? Then if you look at that, maybe we can do something different, whereby there will be a mix of new pipes and water pipe, at least to service that area. Then in the meantime, we'll be working on replacing all the old pipes in the new part of the town. Someone has to come up with that plan of action, because trying to put in 4 water towers in a small community like this, we're not like Sudbury. You've been to Sudbury, they have one all over the place because of the topography of Sudbury. But to put 4 water tanks and just drop it in a small community like this, I don't think will solve all our problems. Thank you.
Thank you. Anything further? Councillor Kylie?
Yeah, I'm curious, if we had the 4 towers now, would the pipes, these old pipes, be able to handle the water pressure?
Stefan, could you speak to that?
Yes, I can speak to that. Not a problem. Through you, Madam Mayor, to Councillor Kylie. If we had all our towers in place, what is recommended by EXP is not only to have the water towers, but to have a pump at each base of the towers. So what this will do is, well, one, we can save on construction costs, because then we don't have to put the tower as high, because then we can force more pressure into the system with a pump. So it would be a combination of towers and pumps. So there will be issues, no matter how you look at it. When you install a new water pipe, you have to start by releasing the additional pressure incrementally. And what will occur likely is we're going to find weak spots. And we're going to have to repair those weak spots. And there are also going to be areas where the pressure is just going to be too high in order to get other locations up to par with pressure. So for those areas, we're going to have to put what we call a PRV, a pressure reducing valve, to reduce now the increased pressure for other areas. That it's many layers of issues, one on top of the other. So the question was, would it fix all of our problems? Yes and no. Again, it will. We have such a problem with pressure, and it's not just in one location of town. It varies completely everywhere. So increasing pressure in one location will cause issues elsewhere. I don't know how else to explain it for the time being. In order to increase, we have no choice but to go in similar fashion. We need the water towers. We need the increased volume. Those pipes are just too old.
Thank you for that explanation, sir. Anything further? Oh,
Just
sorry,
to
a
your
follow-up?
worship, yeah, just to follow up. So, forget it. This is
Okay,
what's
yeah.
frustrating,
Mhm.
the whole
Yeah.
process.
Counselor Owen?
Yes, thank you, your worship. I try to be a realist when it comes to this kind of stuff, and there's no way we're putting in 4 water towers. I'm sorry, no matter how much government funding we're getting, we're not gonna get enough. And we're not gonna be able to, raise water rates enough to pay, because water has to pay for itself. So I, agree with Councillor Ladd there that, we need to look at, we have to make decisions about where we're gonna develop, okay? And then we have to look at putting a water tower or whatever is needed in order to develop that section of town. That has to be a priority. But at the same time, I mean, can you imagine if you're a business and you're losing 50% of your product? How long would you be in business? Not very long. So at the same time, we have to go hard at replacing pipes. We cannot continue to lose 50% of the water that we treat. And the cost of that is amazing because you've got additional wear and tear on your whole water system. You have potential erosion problems. You have all sorts of environmental concerns because you're pulling chlorine, treated water into a natural environment. The cost is unbelievable. So I think the prudent thing to do is to look at where we're going to develop, do what we need to develop that section. And then hopefully we get additional tax revenues out of that and additional water revenues out of that. And at the same time, start looking at where we go next in terms of pipe replacement. And that's the only way I can see us making challenges. But again, this problem didn't happen overnight. This problem that happened was going on 40 years ago. Okay? So it's not going to be resolved overnight. This council is not going to resolve all the water issues. Not possible. Thank you.
Anything further from members of council? Oh, okay.
To you, Madam Mayor, to members of council. This is the comments from the table. Yes, the approach to take is to look at the growth areas and develop from there. But also we have to address the 50% of water that we're losing. And we'll be delegating to the Minister of Infrastructure at Roma Conference. And we will be seeking funding to help with various studies and investigative work in our system, because that has to be done. Thank you.
Thank you. I'll have the reading of the motion.
Madam Mayor, excuse me. Moved by Councillor Casey Owen, seconded by Councillor Rick Owen. Be it resolved that report number 2024 PW 001 entitled Water Distribution System Challenges be received for information.
All in favor? Opposed? None noted. Item is unanimous. Item 6.2, 2023-2024 Mobile Crisis Response Team MRCT Enhancement Grant. Sean Lecarte, Director of Corporate Services.
Thank you, Madam Mayor, and through you to council. Bringing a report forward tonight to provide information on grant funding available by entering into a transfer payment agreement with the Ontario Solicitor General. And this is through the 2023-24 Mobile Crisis Response Team Enhancement Grant. On May 12th, the Ministry of Solicitor General sent a memorandum out basically saying that the funding was available and that for the funding cycle beginning May 30th, 2023. The Kirkland Lake OPP detachment had operated a local MCRT since April 2021. Municipal and First Nations police services were able to submit one application per police service. Similarly, OPP detachments were permitted to submit one application per detachment. The maximum funding for this program was $120,000 for 2023-24. On July 11th, the town applied for the mobile crisis response team. I said collaboratively with the CMHA and Kirkland Lake OPP. Actually, they completed 99% of the application. We sent the application in, so thank them for their information. The funds will flow through the CMHA's Cochrane Temiskaming branches Kirkland Lake office and will support the local MCRT team by funding 1.5 FTE of the 2.5, the 2.0 FTE that's committed to the program. So, CMHA mental health workers accompany Kirkland Lake OPP and conduct follow-up care to support area residents in mental health crisis. We received correspondence on October 6th this year, giving notice that the town was selected as a successful recipient of the funding of $120,000. We're happy to hear. And administration recommends that council support the project by entering into transfer payment agreement. The agreement comes to the town with the town's name on it, so that's why we're coming forward.
Thank you for that. That's certainly good news. Any comments? Councillor Shabba?
Yeah, through you, your worship. The 0.5 FTE, does that covered by CMH or also covered by the mental health?
Yeah,
You covered that or?
yes, as far as I know, like I said, we weren't that included in it, so yes, that's right. Yeah. So they cover that.
I see. My second question is, so you have to do this every year? Is there a way for that least to give it a 3-year cycle, sort of what every year you have to apply for this, right?
Yeah, this was actually an increase. It said it was increased by 50% from previous years, so they do, I think they decide each year how much is available to come up with the program, so I'm not sure if they will extend it. It would be nice if it was multi-year.
Yeah,
Every year.
Plan ahead.
But we will help it every year if that's the way it's set.
Good.
Thank you. Anything further? Councillor Owen?
Yeah, this is a very important service. As someone who, when in a mental health crisis, did phone the OPP, I realized the importance of having a social worker come along with the OPP to answer those calls. It's done in other communities. Unfortunately, the only thing I would like, but we can't do it because the size is often the uniform intimidates someone who's in a mental health crisis, because they have often had negative interaction with police in the past. But unfortunately, we don't have the staff to ensure that a non-uniformed officer responds. I know I dealt with that as a reporter as well. And I was able to get a detective to go as opposed to a uniformed person. So, yeah, I'm all in favor of this. It's a needed service. It pays dividends, and it keeps people out of jail that shouldn't be in jail. People that need mental health care need mental health care. They don't need a cell. So it's important. Thank you.
Thank you. Anything further from members of council? No more comments noted. I'll have to read the motion.
Certainly, Madam Mayor, moved by Councillor Janice Granger, seconded by Councillor Rod Chaba. Be it resolved that report number 2024-001 entitled 2023-2024 Mobile Crisis Response Team, MRCT, Enhancement Grant be received, and that the mayor and municipal clerk be authorized to execute a transfer payment agreement and any related amendments proposed in favor of the municipality without detrimental financial impact with His Majesty the King in right of Ontario, as represented by the Ministry of Solicitor General for funding under the Mobile Crisis Response Team Enhancement Grant, and finally that an execution bylaw be brought forward for 3 readings on January 24th, 2024.
All in favor? Opposed? None noted. Item carried unanimous. Thank you, sir. Item number 6.3, Integrity Commissioner vacancy, Jennifer Montoy, Municipal Clerk.
Good evening, Madam Mayor and members of council. On December 20th, 2023, DPRA provided 30 days notice to end their contractual relationship with the town for integrity commissioner services due to a retirement. In accordance with the Municipal Act, municipalities must establish a code of conduct for members of council and local boards and appoint an integrity commissioner. That's subsection 2022-32. As noted in the report, integrity commissioners must function in an independent manner and report directly to the municipal council. Based on information contained in the Municipal Integrity Commissioner's Best Practice Guide, it should be noted that the Office of the Ontario Ombudsman is an office of last resort, as they state that they do not act as integrity commissioners for municipalities. As such, administration is recommending this evening that the town return to market to seek interest for integrity commissioner services, given that there's an evolving number of services and professionals that have emerged since the original procurement back in 2020. In the interim, and as stated in the report, there are a couple of options for council's consideration. Subsection 2233 of the Municipal Act, specifically subsection 11, notes that the town could use the services of an integrity commissioner from another municipality. Administration believes this to be a great interim option and reached out to the city of Temiskaming Shores. Since the writing of this report, further discussion ensued with administration from the city, who have identified their support of the town's request and are reaching out to their integrity commissioner, who is Harold Elston, HG Elston Professional Corporation. He's also a lawyer, and he works out of Colwood, and they are checking on his availability. Alternatively, Kim Collette, who is our current integrity commissioner through DPRA, has offered to provide independent integrity commissioner services to the town. At this time, it is recommended that this be considered as an interim measure until such time that a new integrity commissioner is appointed. Whichever interim solution is available to the town, a supplemental report and appointing bylaw will be presented to council for council's consideration at their January 24th regular meeting. And to avoid a call for a special meeting, effective dates will be adjusted accordingly. Administration is available to committing to an RFP posting for IC services as early as the last week of January to fill this vacancy. And based on early discussions, the contractual period could be for the remainder of this term with an option for renewal for an additional year to afford the incoming council a year to determine if it would like to continue with the contractual relationship. And in closing, administration is seeking delegated authority to authorize the municipal clerk to investigate both options as recommended and to report back to council with an interim solution until such time that an appointment can be made from the procurement process. This is my summary, and I'll reserve for questions from council if any through you, Madam Mayor.
Thank you. Any questions from council? Councillor Kylie?
To your worship, I'm disappointed in the service that we did get from our existing integrity commissioner. When she started out, individual councillors could call her and have a quick down and dirty discussion on items. Then all of a sudden that stopped. We had to fill out a huge report, which most people didn't bother doing. I didn't, and just forgot about what I was asking for clarification on. So I think in the RFP that councillors should be allowed to make these calls to the integrity commissioner. Not just for half the contract, but the whole contract. It was disappointing that she cut us off right in the middle of it or near the end.
Anything further from members of council? Just for my part, I have had no issues with Mrs. Collette or Ms. Collette. I have spoken to her at least 7 times over the last year via email. And all I've had to do was send her an email regarding my question, and she's gotten back to me within 48 hours. So I have not experienced the same issues as you have. But anything further from council regarding the motion rather than the service provided?
Supplemental. to your
Councillor
worship.
Kylie?
I was told I could not contact her. So, that that was the end of it. There was no emails involved. It was either fill out the questionnaire, report, or forget it. So there's a misunderstanding somewhere along the road. I didn't realize that she would answer emails, at least. That doesn't sound too bad, at least she's responding to it.
Yeah, thank you. I'll have the reading of the motion.
Moved by Counselor Patrick Kelly, seconded by Counselor Janice Ranger, be it resolved that report number 2024 Corp 002 entitled Integrity Commissioner Vacancy be received, and that council authorize the issuance of an RFP for Integrity Commissioner Services for the town of Kirkland Lake Council and its local agency boards and commissions. And find that until such time that a new Integrity Commissioner be appointed, the municipal clerk be authorized to A, investigate the process of sharing Integrity Commissioner Services with the Corporation of the City of Temiskaming Shores, and to bring a supplementary report, including the necessary execution bylaw and appointment bylaw to council if this is a viable option. And B, provide 7 days notice to terminate the contract to DPRA in accordance with section 12 of the said agreement. And alternatively, that C, should the process above not be available, and should the 30-day notice period lapse in the current agreement with DPRA, that the municipal clerk be authorized to I, engage in the independent services of Kim Collette on an as-needed basis for an interim period, mirroring the terms and conditions contractually agreed upon with DPRA, with slight variations to the termination clause until a new integrity commissioner is appointed through the procurement process. I enter into an interim contract with Kim Collette with the form of the contract being at the satisfaction of the municipal clerk and chief administrative officer. And 3, bring an appointment bylaw to council for the appointment of Kim Collette as an interim integrity commissioner.
All in favor? Opposed? None noted. Item carried unanimous. Thank you. Item number 6.4, low speed vehicles, LSVs pilot program. Clinton Johansson, Director of Developmental Services.
Thank you, Madam Mayor and Council. On August 30th, 2023, the Kirkland Lake Police Service Board recommended that council participate in the provincial low-speed vehicle pilot program. In July 2017, Ontario launched a 10-year pilot program testing low-speed vehicles under new legislation, OREG 215-17 in the Highway Traffic Act. This initiative aims to simplify the low-speed vehicle use, reducing barriers and enhancing accessibility. Joining the pilot program is a great chance to support a green way of getting around the town. We intended to employ our current communication channels and social media accounts for public information initiatives aimed at ensuring public awareness of LSVs. And the related expenses will be accounted for this year's budget under the Bylaw Enforcement Division. I'm estimating about 4 hours of staff media time to develop a plan, and the media advertising, and a signage installation would be roughly around $3,000. The administration suggests that council evaluate the prospective advantages of implementing the low-speed vehicle bylaw, proceed with its adoption. If council wishes to explore enforcing regulations on mobile scooters or bikes or similar devices separately, it should be formally initiated in such an investigation independent of the LSP bylaw. Any questions?
Thank you, sir. Before opening the table for questions, I do have comments to make myself. There is definitely two sides to this issue. Those individuals in this community that are currently using these low speed vehicles, and the rest of the people that use the roadways. I do advocate, as everybody knows, for people who are aged and people with disabilities. So I see this bylaw will be enacting barriers rather than decreasing them to the individual users currently having these vehicles. Doing this will reduce their mobility within our community and their independence, which will have deep health, social, and mental effects on these individuals. This program runs only until June of 2027. Thank you, I do appreciate the addition of the costing because at the time of the report there wasn't. So I do appreciate that you address those concerns. I do recognize that there are liability concerns if one of these vehicles were to get into an accident. And at this present moment, there's only civil, avenues, to deal with it rather than criminality. So like I said, there are two sides to this issues, the users and others, but on this matter, I will advocate for the segment of the population currently using them as an affordable option to traverse our community and retain their quality of life. I'll open the table. Any questions or comments? Councillor Shah?
To you, worship. I'm looking at this and under the heading, investigating regulations and enforcement for the non-LSBs. It is stated that, if the council, if we do, we wish we can, bring, you guys can investigate, it's not investigate a separate bylaw, regulation, a bylaw enforcing regulations on the non-LSB. So my question would be to you, Madam Mayor, to the clerk, is that something that another notice for motion will have to come through to the council for that to be passed on to the staff to investigate?
Oh, sorry, yeah. Madam Clerk? You can respond. Absolutely, yes.
Yeah.
Oh, okay, yeah, because I think that's something that we need to do, very soon so that there will be no confusion between the users, between the bylaw, for the users of LSBs and the non-LSBs, because, you know, if we don't do that, we might run into a lot of problems.
That's correct. And it's hard to tell the difference. Like,
Like, they're totally different, yeah,
Yeah.
but, yeah, it's something that we're watching out for.
Councillor Owen?
Yeah, we do have a bylaw concerning mobility assistance devices. We have a bylaw concerning snowmobiles, and we have a bylaw concerning 4x4s already in place. The only thing we don't have a bylaw in place for would be scooters and electric bicycles. So if it's council's decision to develop a new bylaw, it's not as complicated as what I see. I have very mixed feelings on this. For one, I found out today the approximate cost of one of those vehicles, and yes, compared to a brand new car, they are cheap. But is it something I could afford to buy? No. They are not cheap. They're in the thousands of dollars. So the community that I saw having a big advantage of using them wouldn't be able to afford them, quite frankly, in my opinion. I live on 3rd Street, and I had to follow one of those along Allen Avenue to Tim Hortons, and I couldn't pass because of traffic. I could see a lot of road rage incidents in Kirkland Lake if we allow them on the road. If we are going to allow them, I would like to see us develop a bylaw similar to what we have for snowmobiles and side-by-sides, where they're only allowed on certain streets. I can't imagine getting stuck behind one of those at Main Street and Government Road and still be behind it when I get to Northern College. By that point, I think I'd be a little less polite than I am right now. But on the other hand, for some people, they might make sense, but the other thing to consider too, if we pass a bylaw allowing them, this study has only got, I think, 3 years left. What if the government says, no, we're not gonna allow them on the street, but we passed a bylaw, so then people think, well, they're gonna be allowed, so they go out and buy them, and then in 3 years' time, their investment is gone, because you're not gonna be able to resell them, you're not gonna be able to do anything with them. I don't know, this is a very tough decision. Thank you.
Councillor Ranger?
We have to be cautious that under the Human Rights Commission, people with disabilities have their own protections and the comments that Councillor Owens made about the allowability of possibly only certain streets really does negate the whole intention of having accessible roadways. To me, it's more of personal safety issues, mandatory helmets, hazard signs on these vehicles or on these motorized pieces of equipment, to provide safety for the actual user of the machine. My inability to manage my time to get from point A to point B is not that person's issue when I have to follow behind them. That's something that as a person who has access to a vehicle needs to manage on their own. I don't think it's something that needs to be in question when we look at possibly using this bylaw. I do have concerns about if it's not something that the provincial government wants to follow through on after the pilot, how do we communicate that to our community members that it is no longer, we're no longer part of what is currently looked at as a pilot?
Just a note on your comments, Councillor Ranger, helmets aren't included
No, I know.
as, yeah, so when
None
we're
of the
looking at
personal safety.
safeties, it's, yeah, it comes down to insurance. G, at least basic licensing will be required.
Yeah.
So that's why I said that there's a barrier to it, because now the people that are currently using them will not be able to. Councillor Owens?
Through you, Madam Mayor, I've read this one a couple times and I don't understand, so if we go with status quo, or if this doesn't pass, and is that these types of, are these types of vehicles still allowed on a road?
No, by the Highway Traffic Act, if it is an LSV,
Who enforces that right now?
that would be the OPP.
And do we
That's
know,
Highway Traffic Act.
have they been enforcing it? Like, I've seen these things in the summer, I've seen a parade of them go by my house at one point, they look kind of cool. I'm not sure I would want to fit in one of them, but what changes, like if we pass, like I fail to see what happens tomorrow if this bylaw passes or doesn't pass.
Most likely the ones you've probably seen have been the scooter type with the whole complete shell on it with a handbrake and stuff like that. They wouldn't be classified as an LSV under this.
So those will still be on a road.
Well, no, this is why I'm saying that we should have the other bylaw to generate, to address that as well, but separately from this, because it's dealt with the, along with the Highway Traffic Act and the OPP.
Can I go a follow?
Do you have a clarification?
Yes, clarification. So throw this program, 2.5 years left of program out the window.
Yeah, done.
Can the town of Kirkland Lake can we just regulate them like everything else we regulate on our streets? That we have the power to regulate? Or is that simply not enforceable for the town of Kirkland Lake?
That would be probably an enforceable point with the town of Kirkland Lake.
And yeah, I can go down the street.
Okay, sorry, so we'll have, yeah, thank the CAO, respond.
If it was we have to really look at this thing between the LSV and the mobility.
Well, yeah, they're two different pieces.
It's very, very different, you know. If the LSVs were not even considered, right, you left with the mobility, right? I mean, that's where our bylaw would.
To address to the mobility devices.
Correct.
Yes.
Right.
And they wouldn't necessarily be on the streets because they go at a lower speed, which is probably what you were following the other day.
Because the
So-
LSVs are,
They can go
they are related to the Highway Traffic Act.
40 to 50 kilometers.
So as presiding officer, I'm not allowed to enter into the debate. So Councillor Ranger, can you take the chair for a moment, please?
Thank you, Madam Mayor.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. Thank you.
Questions from the floor?
Thank you. To the director. So you stated that the ones that we're familiar with, the ones that we have, I believe, have the concerns about in our community, you're identifying them as not what we're speaking about today? Something different? Or do we have these specific type of vehicles within our community today that we are aware of?
What happens to you, Madam Mayor? Yeah. I mean, I can't honestly say what type they are, but I know they do sell them from out here. The actual scooter type with the handbrake, they don't meet the LSV requirement. So unless I go up to the machine or you look at it, you can tell if it has a VIN number, you know, all that stuff.
So just to follow up, because I believe possibly members of the Police Services Board and the two members sitting may be able to speak to this, as well as members of council, when they've read this report, they are envisioning what we've all had the pleasure or displeasure of encountering on our local streets, of being stuck behind at a low speed within our community. So if that is not what is meant by this, I think that needs to be made clear.
Well,
Sorry, I'm looking at Lad because he sits on the board.
sorry.
It may be a situation where we defer this action until we can get clarification from the Police Services Board and or have them present.
Okay.
But Councillor Bacon.
Thank you, Acting Mayor, to council. In your report, it does say that mobility scooters, which I think we're talking about those with disabilities and so on, is not included in this report. So we're talking about.
Two separate.
Yeah,
two separate.
very,
Yeah.
very.
I mean, I think it came down to the terminology that was presented back to us in regard to LSVs, which when I first read it, I didn't actually know what an LSV, I thought it was a mobility scooter, but by the time I went through it, and I sent the report to the police, they actually said the same thing. At the end of the day, it was something that they had to take a look at and review and kind of look at it as well. So it's just how it was presented.
So if we don't have these vehicles currently in operation, and to our knowledge, and so clearly it's not enough that it would affect the people of the town of Kirkland Lake. There's only 2.5 years left to jump in on this before the legislation. So are we not just creating a problem by bringing this motion? Are we not just, like, if it's not occurring today, it's not something that is occurring in our municipality, are we not just making more problems for ourselves? I don't know. We're costing taxpayers money for nothing then. Like, we're putting in all this effort for a problem that does not currently exist.
Councillor Owens.
I think we need clarification on if or not we have these vehicles in the town of Kirkland Lake. I think we should go back to the Police Services Board or the Police Department, come back to us with a report, a picture of what we're looking at compared to what's on our streets, and then we can make, if we are, and we may be wasting our time, it wouldn't be the first time. Then we pass on to something else. They just.
I'm gonna raise a motion to defer at this time. To the Police Services Board.
Yeah.
Can I have a moment? Can I have a moment?
You didn't see that coming? No. This is how troublesome I was when I sat.
Through Madam Chair, moved by Mayor Stacy White, seconded by Councilor Rick Owen. They resolve the council defer the matter to the Kirkland Lake Police Services Board for clarification.
All in favor? None opposed?
Thank you, Acting Chair Ranger. I do appreciate that impromptu switching of seats. Okay, so we're moving forward. Item number 7, considerations of notices of motion. Councillor Dolly Dykens, opposing strong mayor powers. You may proceed, Councillor Dykens.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Please, the rest of council, I apologize ahead of time. I may be coughing, but, I've done my best to get through this. I want to start so that it's clear. As a council, we ought to support initiatives that promote housing, sustainable growth and development, but not at the expense of democracy. After the Ontario government introduced strong mayor powers in the fall of 2022, the previous council of Kirkland Lake raised concerns about the impact of Bill 3 and the strong mayor powers in particular, and the impact it would have on municipalities. Since then, as of July 1st, 2023, 26 more municipalities received strong mayor powers, cementing the concerns of eroding local autonomy and normalizing minority rule as a legitimate governing principle. Majority rule is a foundational principle of democracy. And yes, we should be concerned when minority rule is legitimized for passing bylaws and budgets. And the implementation of provincial priorities by strong mayor are concerns related to local municipalities and its autonomy. Ultimately, Bill 3, and in particular the strong mayor's powers part, weakens the local representative system of democracy and is an affront to democracy itself. So I'm asking council for your support of this motion and asking the province to repeal the strong mayor's part of the Building Homes Act of 2022. Specifically the part relating to the strong mayor powers.
Okay, thank you. Councillor Shabba, as the seconder, you may speak.
Yeah, I don't have a lot to add to what you said. I think this motion is really needed because we're all elected here on equal standing, and each one of us vote should actually count. So by having strong mayors to have powers, and really upset that, to me, it's not very. It's not a good case for democracy. So I urge you to support this, and also too, by supporting this, we're not asking, we're not neglecting the efforts of the government to fund housing needs as being required in our community or any other communities. So I ask you to support this motion.
Thank you. Before opening the table for comments, I do have some of my own tonight. It was my motion that was brought forward a year and 3 months ago. I spoke very, very strongly against these powers, and I still feel the same today as the person in the seat. However, as Councillor Dykens did state, there has been less than 30 municipalities out of 444 that were given these strong mayor's power, all of which have a population over 100,000 or have targeted to reach that threshold by 2031. According to the province, all of those municipalities have given their pledge to meet housing targets. This is not the case for smaller communities the size of Kirkland Lake, and is very unlikely to be so for quite some time. I do believe in the power of lobbying the provincial government to make positive changes for the greater good, not only for our community, but for the province. But the chances of this particular motion to have success are very slim. And personally and politically speaking, passing this motion as written may be more detrimental to the people of the town of Kirkland Lake, considering in less than 2 weeks, we will be approaching these exact ministers with our delegations for assistance with critical infrastructure needs that our community needs to survive and to thrive. No, you're right, no single individual should have the power set out in these amendments. And I would gladly support a motion instead stating that if such time these powers are granted within the community of the town of Kirkland Lake, this council will not use those powers. A motion stated that way will do the same thing, will set clear that this council has no intentions. And the more smaller communities that follow our lead, saying we will not use it, will send a more powerful message than asking them to change. When we had asked them with the full power of AMO and all other municipal associations, they had all asked for this legislation not to be put in, and it was put in anyway. So that's my position on this. I think we're better served to declare it ourselves. Councillor Owens.
Through you, Madam Mayor, I agree with your position on this one. I think I'd be willing to put forward a motion stating that, on a Kirkland Lake, if ever we're granted this, that we will not use those powers. It's been done, this has been done, it hasn't worked, it's just the same tape, the same bureaucracy repeating itself. Let's move on to the next step and put actions to not just say, well, can you maybe reconsider? No, let's, for us, we can apply for Kirkland Lake. No, it's not gonna pass here.
Sorry, is that a notice then?
Yeah, can I move a motion?
No.
Given-
An amendment,
An amendment? Yes.
one, whichever gets what I just said out on the floor faster.
Okay.
I'm not sure how you want to formulate it, just let's, instead of going through this, let's not put a motion through that if these powers are granted to the town of Kirkland Lake, we say no.
Okay, so if you, through
Yeah.
Madam Mayor, if you wanted to bring notice of motion for that, that's fine.
Or could it be through an amendment?
If you have a seconder for an amendment, but it's not germane to this motion. So, can I,
Yep, absolutely.
educationally,
Yep,
council could vote on there's a couple of options that can happen. If Councillor Dykens so wishes to withdraw her motion, she could do so, or there could be an amendment. There can be an amendment the way that you're proposing because it's not germane to the original motion. However, you can bring notice of motion for that motion to come forward council in another meeting. Or you can take the vote, and depending on the way of the vote, that is the decision of council. On whether or not there's lobbying to the province.
Yep.
In this action.
We do the second and the third, some.
That's correct.
So
okay, yeah, Councillor Ranger.
I will support and second if we need to create a notice of motion to
Which will come afterwards.
bring it
Yes.
specific to Kirkland Lake.
Okay, perfect. Any comments then on the motion on the floor, not what will be brought forward, but as written? Councillor Owen.
Through you, your worship, to council. I definitely do not believe in this strong mayor's whatever. It's anti-democratic. And it just doesn't sit well with me at all. And I can't believe that a democratic organization, society, whatever, would pass this, but it did. So I don't disagree with what Councillor Dykens is suggesting. In fact, I agree 100%, okay? But the timing, unfortunately, I don't think is right. We did, previous council, pass a resolution that went to Queen's Park and it didn't make any difference. So I'm not totally convinced that sending a second resolution is going to put us in any better stead with the province. The timing, because, hey, look, we heard tonight how much money, well, we didn't hear dollar wise, but we know we have massive projects ahead of us. And we need provincial support in order to supply the residents with this town with the basic needs that they have to have. And I would not want to be a delegation going to face ministers when we just passed a motion that said, we don't agree with you. And I don't think as a reasonable human being, although some people say I'm not, but anyways, as a reasonable human being, you could expect someone you just said, we totally disagree with you to support you. So it's the timing I disagree with. But I definitely support Councillor Dykens in her desire to keep a democracy.
Thank you. Anything more from the floor? Councillor Dykens?
To you, Madam Mayor, to the rest of council, the timing's always right in defending democracy. This is bigger than just, Kirkland Lake. I would, have full confidence in, speaking with whoever from the government that we speak with, regardless of what gets passed, tonight. It's too expensive to not pass this, asking them to repeal. What has changed since the last time is 26 more municipalities have received strong mayor powers, and it's a slippery slope. The provincial priorities erode local autonomy. So I can't say it's strong enough. It's not just about us. There's a bigger issue at stake here, and I would ask for your support. Thank you.
Anything further from members of council? We can now take the vote. I'll have the reading of the motion.
Moved by Councillor Dolly Dykens, seconded by Councillor Vlad Chaba. Whereas on October 4th, 2022, the town of Kirkland Lake resolved in raising concerns of the impact of Bill 3 Strong Mayors Building Homes Act will have on municipalities, namely changes to the Municipal Act 2001, are unnecessary and will negatively affect the town of Kirkland Lake. The Ontario government should enact legislation clarifying the role of mayor, council, and CAO, similar to those recommended by the Ontario Municipal Administrators Association, which is OMA, and those recommended by Justice Morocco in the Collingwood Judicial Inquiry of 2020. And if the stated goal of the legislation is to construct more housing in Ontario, then this can be accomplished through other means, including amendment of the Planning Act 1990 and funding of more affordable housing. And whereas the strong mayor powers are now being utilized by certain Ontario municipalities, raising concerns of eroding local autonomy and normalizing minority rule as a legitimate governing principle. Therefore, be it resolved that the Council of the Corporation of the Town of Kirkland Lake petition the Government of Ontario as follows. 1, the Town of Kirkland Lake support initiatives that promote housing, sustainable growth and development, but not at the expense of democracy. And 2, the Town of Kirkland Lake encourages the Province of Ontario to repeal the portion of the Strong Mayors Building Homes Act 2002, specifically amendments to Part 6, 1, special powers and duties of head of council within the Municipal Act 2001 and the granting of strong mayor powers to municipalities. And finally, that a copy of this resolution be provided to the Premier of Ontario, the Minister of the Ministry of the Municipal Affairs and Housing, MPP for Timiskaming and Cochrane, the Association of Municipalities of Ontario, and all Ontario municipalities.
Thank you. All in favor? Opposed? Sorry, all in favor? Yeah, all in favor? Okay. Sorry, opposed? Thank you. Item defeated. Introduction, reading, and consideration of bylaws. Bylaw 8.1, bylaw number 24-001.
Moved by Councillor Rick Owen, seconded by Councillor Patrick Kiley, be it resolved that the following bylaw be read, numbered, passed, signed by the mayor and municipal clerk, and a seal of the corporation be affixed thereto. Bylaw number 24-001, being a bylaw authorizing the execution of a third amending agreement with the Ontario Clean Water Agency, AQUA, for the operation and maintenance services for the town of Kirkland Lake's water and wastewater system.
All in favor? Opposed? None noted. Item carried unanimous. Can somebody please?
Thank you.
Now, please say it. It will come.
No, we have to bring the notice on.
We have to bring the notice.
Yeah.
He's not there.
I'm on there.
Yeah, we're just gonna take a 5-minute recess just to wait for Councillor Shaba to return. Yeah, okay, we're returning from recess, thank you. Item number 9, questions from council to staff. There was none submitted prior to council. Item number 10, notices of motion. Counselor Owen,
Yeah, I will present a motion at the next regular meeting of council to investigate the development of multi-unit residential development in the downtown core.
okay, thank you. Counselor Owens,
Through you, Madam Mayor, I just want to make sure I didn't want to steal your thunder on this one. Did you?
No,
want to present
by all
the motion?
means.
Okay,
yeah,
so okay, so in 2 meetings or 3? At some point in the near future, we'll be presenting the motion that if ever town of Kirkland Lake is afforded the powers, strong mayor's powers, that the town of Kirkland Lake refuses to accept it.
okay, thank you. Oh, yes, Counselor Owen,
Just for the clerk's convenience, Councillor Casey Owens has agreed to second my motion.
That's irrelevant.
okay, thank you. Okay, moving on, Counselor reports, item number 11. Any updates from members of council? Okay, none noted from the table. Oh, sorry, I'm too quick tonight. Counselor Kylie.
Through you, your worship, at the last meeting of council, I said that the budget had been set for this out. I was wrong. It was not set. There's a deficit of about 357,000, which, I think the right one to do is we're going to have the finalization of the budget on, the 17th of this month. We're looking at, taking this money, hopefully all of it from the reserve, which is plentiful, and to zero out, any increase to the communities. So,
I do appreciate that. Thank you for that correction. Counselor Owen.
You look so nice. Through you, your worship, to the rest of council, concerning DSAP, it's always fun. No, it's just it doesn't,
No decisions.
no, it's no decisions and it has nothing to do with, it has to do with our taxes. Okay, worst case scenario with DSAP, we're looking at a 5.9% increase. That's if we take no money from reserves. If we take 200,000 from reserves, the town of Kirkland Lake would be looking at a 3.6% increase in what we pay DSAP. And if we take 300,000 from reserves, I'm talking DSAP reserves here, the town of Kirkland Lake would be looking at a 2.5% increase in what we pay DSAP. Now, fortunately, the chair asked their treasurer, treasurer, to come back with an estimate, with a proposal that would see a 0% increase in what we pay DSAP. Considering the healthy reserves they have and the fact that most of their money is provided by either province or municipalities, they have guaranteed funding. I am going to push hard for a 0% increase. I don't know how that's going to go, but I think I'll be able to get some people on side for that. Now, one of the reasons that the increase this year is so high is because government funding. Yeah, government funding was cut in the area of children's services. That's where the big cut was.
500,000.
Yeah, 409,000. $132,000 is what the cut that the DSAP faced in terms of children's services. So that's a big portion of why the increase is coming. Normally I would, and they provide excellent children's services. Normally I would say, fine, we got to pay more to keep those services. But in this case, I think because of the reserves, we can do better than just increase. So that's basically where we're at. next meeting, I believe is critical. We are still on schedule to have the budget set in January. So that's done specifically, thanks to the chairperson's will. He wants to have that set so municipalities know where they stand. And traditionally, I guess it's been said a little later, but he's put an emphasis on getting it done in January this year. So hopefully that will help our Treasury Department as they do their deliberations. So stay tuned, and I will have an update down the road. Also, I attended the proclamation of the Alzheimer's Society with the mayor. That's a cause that hits very close to home with me, because I watched my mother go through dementia. And fortunately, my family had dealt with illness that you couldn't do anything about, and our way of dealing with it was humor, and it helped us to get through that. But towards the end, it was quite sad. So it was a pleasure for me to attend that event. Thank you.
Thank you. Anything from members of the council? Okay. I just want to take a moment to welcome everybody back from the holidays and wish everybody in the room and members of the public at home a happy new year. And we're looking forward to very great things out of 2024. This month, Councillor Dykens, myself, and CAO Alan Smith are traveling to Toronto to attend Roma. I am pleased to report we were granted all 4 of our delegation requests, and we will also be co-delegates with Temiskaming Shores for the Community Safety and Wellbeing Plan. As a reminder, we will be speaking with ministers regarding securing our water supply from climate change risks, our new fire station, our aging water distribution system, and new housing developments. A reminder that budgeting is around the corner, and as such, I suggest members of council review last year's budget documents, the asset management plan, the 2023 10-year road reconstruction plan, and the 10-year fleet management replacement plan document to ensure we're prepared for the processes when they begin to move forward. For my part, I have forwarded these documents to all members of council via email, so you don't have to search the website for them. If members of council do come across resources they believe would be helpful to fellow members, they can forward it to the clerk and she will disseminate the information. As I stated earlier, and this is where I get really serious, we were elected to make decisions on behalf of our community. And in the near future, we will be asked to decide possibly very unpopular things. The 7 of us asked for this responsibility, and the people have granted it to us. We should not shy away from that responsibility, but do our best to ensure we are informed, that we understand the legislation, regulation, policies, and procedures that govern our decisions, and be prepared to answer to members of the public when brought to task for how we voted on these matters. We are well situated for many positive outcomes in 2024, and I am highly optimistic about the future for Kirkland Lake. However, this does not take away from the challenges we may face within the time we have left as this team of council. I hope all members at this table reflect on the responsibilities they have been granted by virtue of this position and steady themselves for the decisions ahead. Welcome to 2024. Madam Clerk.
Moved by Councillor Casey Owens, seconded by Councillor Janice Ranger, be it resolved that the verbal updates from members of council be received.
All in favor? That's not on it. Opposed, none noted. Item carried unanimous. Additional information as noted on the agenda is the addition of a proclamation for Bell's Let's Talk Day. Whereas January 24th, 2024 marks the 14th annual Bell's Let's Talk Day, a day to take action and to create positive change for mental health. And whereas the town of Kirkland Lake supports positive mental health for all citizens and members of our community and seeks to improve the lives of all citizens who will experience a mental illness or mental health issues in their lifetime. And whereas the town of Kirkland Lake recognizes that now is the time to come together to take action and to show support for mental health in meaningful and impactful ways, to help ensure that all Canadians can access mental health and addiction supports they need to flourish. And whereas the town of Kirkland Lake raises a flag to celebrate Bell's Let's Talk Day and encourages all citizens of Kirkland Lake to join the conversation, to take action, to keep listening, keep talking, keep being there, and to create positive change. Therefore, be it resolved, I, Stacy White, do hereby proclaim Wednesday, January 24th, 2024 as Bell's Let's Talk Day in Kirkland Lake and encourage the support of this campaign. Thank you.
Moved by Counselor Janice Ranger, seconded by Counselor Rick Owen, be it resolved that council sanction the proclamation for Bell Let's Talk Day, January 24th, 2024 in the town of Kirkland Lake.
All in favor? Opposed? None noted. We'll now take a 10-minute recess before moving into closed. Thank you, everyone.
Yeah.
We're now returning from the recess. And I will have the motion read to move into closed.
Moved by Counselor Dolly Dyken, seconded by Counselor Rick Owen. It resolved that council adjourn in camera at 6:13 PM pursuant to section 239(2) of the Municipal Act 2001 as amended to discuss a proposed or pending acquisition or disposition of land by the municipality or local board and a position, plan, procedure, criteria, or exception to be applied to any negotiations carried on the week or to be carried on by or on behalf of the municipality or local board for the following reason. Item 13.1 supplemental request to purchase 7 and 9 Main Street.
All in favor?
Oh. Go ahead.
All in favor? Opposed? None noted. Item carried unanimous. We shall move into closed. Okay, we shall now rise from closed session.
Moved by Counselor Dolly Dyken, seconded by Counselor Casey Owens, be it resolved that council reconvene in open session at 6:23 PM.
All in favor? Opposed? None noted. Item carried unanimous. Any pecuniary rising from matters from closed session? None noted. Item number 14.1 supplemental. Request to purchase 7 and 9 Main Street.
Moved by Counselor Janice Ranger, seconded by Counselor La Chaba, be it resolved that report number 2024 DEV 002 entitled Supplemental Request to Purchase 7 and 9 Main Street be received. And finally, that council cancel the land sale of lot 7 and 9 Main Street to Mr. Joel Soldick.
All in favor? Opposed? None noted. Item carried unanimous. Item number 15, confirmation dialogue.
Moved by Counselor Casey Owens, seconded by Counselor Dolly Dykens. Be resolved that the following bylaw be read, number passed, signed by the Vernon Municipal Clerk and is appropriate to be affixed thereto. File number 24002 being a bylaw to confirm the proceedings of council at its regular meeting held Tuesday, January 9th, 2024.
All in favor? Opposed? Item carried unanimous. Item number 16, adjournment.
Moved by Counselor Rickon, seconded by Counselor Patrick Riley. Be it resolved that this regular meeting of council is now adjourned at 6:24 PM.
All in favor? Opposed? Item carried unanimous. Good evening, everyone.